We tend to view poverty as a simple math problem. Some people just have less money in their accounts. When those accounts run dry, the usual explanation points to a lack of financial literacy or poor personal choices. Track the daily expenses of low-income earners, however, and you find a counterintuitive reality. It actually costs significantly more money to be poor than it does to be wealthy. Economists call this the poverty premium. Modern markets treat those without capital as a revenue stream, imposing a deliberate structural tax on the bottom tier of the economy. If you lack capital, the system triggers an automatic set of penalties. You are charged a fee for not holding enough money in an account. You pay higher markups for basic goods because you cannot afford to buy in bulk. Simply existing and conducting basic transactions becomes more expensive the less liquidity you have. The financial system is engineered to extract the highest profit margins from those with the least amount of cash. Poverty is a highly profitable industry. Traditional banks present themselves as safe places to store wealth, yet for low-wage workers, they act as the first trap. These institutions impose high minimum balance requirements that families living paycheck to paycheck simply cannot meet. Over the last 2 decades, banks have systematically raised the cost of entry. This chart shows the steep, simultaneous historical rise in ATM fees, monthly checking fees, and minimum balance requirements. One of the primary drivers of this exclusion is the $38 billion overdraft fee industry, powered by a predatory algorithm called debit resequencing. Imagine an account with a $100 balance and 3 pending checks for $75, $150, and $500. Instead of clearing in order, the system processes the largest check first, instantly draining the account and triggering multiple cascading penalty fees. These compounding fees rapidly push low-income earners into the negative. Once they default, private databases like ChexSystems blacklist them, locking them out of the formal banking system entirely. Traditional banking functions as an institutional filter, systematically penalizing the vulnerable until they are forced into the shadow economy. Once ejected from traditional banking, individuals have to navigate the alternative financial services sector. Check cashers and payday lenders set up bright neon storefronts, specifically targeting neighborhoods where the unbanked live. This diagram maps out a parallel system of high-cost services orbiting the unbanked consumer. The tax begins immediately. Check cashers take an instant cut straight off a paycheck. The trap deepens with credit. Payday loans carry astronomical rates, locking users into vicious debt cycles. Using these services looks like a bad decision on paper. But when a family needs cash immediately to survive an emergency, like an injury or a broken-down car, paying an exorbitant risk premium is a strictly rational decision. They have no other choice. These storefronts operate as neighborhood wealth vacuums. They systematically divert millions of dollars out of already disadvantaged communities, depressing local growth and erasing any chance to accumulate savings. This extraction extends far beyond banking and into the physical retail environment. In low-income areas and informal street marketplaces, everyday consumption is structured to penalize the poor. Wealthy consumers use their capital to secure volume discounts. The poor, constrained by erratic cash flow, must purchase basic goods in microsachets or single items. Buying a daily 5 milliliter packet instead of a bulk 1 liter bottle results in a massive relative markup of up to 65% per unit. Modern fintech companies and online banking apps promise to optimize expenses through cashbacks and price comparisons, but this digital optimization excludes those at the bottom of the pyramid. This document details how lacking reliable broadband and digital literacy locks vulnerable people out of online savings. You cannot use digital fixed-fee offers without internet or bank access. This creates a secondary penalty, time poverty. Managing bills offline is vastly more time-consuming, burdening hourly workers. The modern retail and digital landscapes enforce a strict rule. Capital density and digital access are mandatory prerequisites just to pay a fair market price for basic survival. Having capital acts as a protective shield. Wealth allows consumers to avoid fees, secure favorable interest rates, and bypass the high-friction economy entirely. We can see this clearly by tracing a single paycheck through 2 different socioeconomic groups. Up top, the check enters a high balance account, which provides access to zero-cost credit, bulk discounts, and generating interest. On the bottom, the exact same check enters the shadow economy, shrinking at every single node due to cash-in fees, micro-purchasing markups, and high-interest loans. The less liquidity you possess, the higher the structural friction cost to spend every single dollar. This is an inescapable mathematical reality. Poverty compounds poverty. This extraction is a deliberate, working business model. Corporate profits in several major sectors rely heavily on the high margins generated from late fees, subprime interest, and packaging premiums charged to those who can least afford them. We cannot solve this issue simply by giving people slightly higher wages. The financial system is architected to tax people for being poor. Until that underlying structure is dismantled, the extraction will continue.